Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Jaya Gopijana Vallabha Girivaradhari Jaya Jaya Gopijana Vallabha Girivaradhari Jaya Gopi Giri Yasodanandana Brajajanahandhanaya Yasodanandana Brajajanahandhanaya Jamuna Tira Chahi Yamunati Jamuna Tira Vana Chahi Yamunati Hare Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Kunja Biham Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Kunja Biham Jaya Gopi Janavallabham Girivaradhari Jaya Jaya Gopi Janavallabha Girivaradhari Jaya Gopi Girivaradhari Yasodanandana Brajajanahandhanaya Yasodanandana Brajajanahandhanaya Jamuna Tira Vana Chahi Yamunati Jamuna Tira Vana Chahi Yamunati Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare hare-rama hare-rama Rama Rama Hare Hare Krishna Krishna Hare Rama Hare Rama 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 Jaya Panchatattva 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 Jaya Panchatattva Jaya Jaya Prabhupada 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 Srila Prabhupada Gaur Premanande Hari 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 Bol. Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 8, Chapter 12. Mohini Murti bewilders Lord Shiva. This is text number 36. Atavagata Mahatmya Atmano Jagat Atmanaha Apariyeya Viryasya Namenetad Uhadbhutam Atavagata Mahatmya Atmano Jagat Atmanaha Apariyeya Viryasya Namenetad Uhadbhutam Atavagata Mahatmya Atmano Jagat Atmanaha Apariyeya Viryasya Namenetad Uhadbhutam. Viryasya. Ladies? Anyone else? Ata, thus, avagata, being fully convinced about, mahatmya, the greatness, atmanaha, of himself, jagat atmanaha, and of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, aparigyeya viryasya, one who has unlimited potency, na, not, may, nay, did consider, tat, the miraculous activities of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, in bewildering him, uha, certainly, abhutam, as wonderful. Translation. Thus, Lord Shiva could understand his position and that of the Supreme Personality of Godhead who has unlimited potencies. Having reached this understanding, he was not at all surprised by the wonderful way Lord Vishnu had acted upon him. Please repeat. Thus, Lord Shiva could understand his position and that of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who has unlimited potencies. Having reached this understanding, he was not at all surprised by the wonderful way Lord Vishnu had acted upon him. Purport. The Supreme Personality of Godhead is known as all-powerful because no one can excel him in any activity. In Bhagavad Gita 7.7, the Lord says, Mata parataram nanyat kinchirasti dhananjayaha. O conqueror of wealth, there is no truth superior to me, nor can no one can equal the Lord or be greater than the Lord. For he is the master of everyone. As stated in Chaitanya Charitamrita Adi Leela, chapter 5, verse 142, Ekala Ishwa Krishna Ara Sabha Brita. The Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna, is the only master of everyone, including Lord Shiva. What to speak of others? Lord Shiva was already aware of the supreme power of Lord Vishnu, but when he was actually put in bewilderment, he felt proud to have such an exalted master. Umagyantimirandasya gyanajana salakaya chaksun militam yena tasmai Shri Gurave namaha. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prastaya Bhutale Sri Bhakti Bhakti Vedanta Swami Iti Namine. Namaste Saraswati Devi Gaudavari Pacharine Nirvisesa Sunyavari Pastyatya Satarine Panchakalpa Darubhischa Kripa Sindhu Bevacha Patitanam Bhavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namaho Namaha. Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhara Sivasari Gaur Bhaktivinoda Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So, we get two essential points from this verse. Maybe there's more, but two outstanding. As Ekala Ishwa Krishna Arasa Brita. The only master is Krishna, and there's no one superior to him. Nityo Nityanam Chaitanas Chaitananam Eko Bahunam Bidadati Kaman. It's also mentioned in the Swatara Upanishads that there is one eternal who maintains all the other eternals, and no one is equal to that person, and no one is greater to him. Ishwara Parama Krishna Satchidananda Vigraha Anadi Radha Govinda Sarva Karana Karanam Aham Sarvasya Prabhavo Mata Savar Papartante Iti Matva Bhajante Ma Buddha Bhava Samanvitaha Nanya. So many verses. The point is being illustrated and emphasized throughout Scripture, explaining everyone. That is Sri Krishna. That conclusion is the foundation for devotional service. Because without coming to that understanding, all of our activities are really not directed in the right way. Krishna is the Supreme Personality of God, and he is the only worshipable object. And that's mentioned in Bhagavad Gita in the last purport in the 6th chapter, where it talks about bhajate, that there are persons who are honored, but only one is worshipped, and that is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. We honor the demigods. We honor all living entities because in one sense they are, not in one sense, in the absolute sense, they're all part and parcel of that same one personality of Godhead. But there's one that's only worthy of worship, and that is Krishna. And when we say Krishna, that means Krishna and his expansions also, his incarnations. That is the manifestations of his personal form. And so this verse really wants to illustrate, and Prabhupada, you see when Prabhupada gets into it, he really gets into it. He likes to make that point that Krishna is the Supreme Lord, and that's where we should focus our consciousness and worship. When that is understood, then enthusiasm in devotional service increases more and more. And to understand that is actually the foundation of understanding everything. Otherwise, whatever knowledge we have, it's all theoretical. But it becomes realized when we understand that there's one source and there's one worshipable object. And everything that is in existence, both material and spiritual, is actually emanating from that one personality. And Krishna, he's so, diverse in his manifestations, not only of himself, but even in the creative manifestations, that he can create something so small that you can't see it. And he can create something so big that it's impossible to even understand it. He can do anything. When that Mensa society was approaching Prabhupada in London, Shyamasundar had arranged for these different personalities to meet Prabhupada. Prabhupada wanted some action. He was in London, he said, bring some important people. So Shyamasundar was looking for people, and he came across so many different people, that poets and some writers and some people who were famous on a local level. He did a pretty good service by bringing many interesting people. And you can read, it's all mostly during the summer of 1973 when Prabhupada was there for the Ratha Yatra. And there was one society that he contacted. They were called Mensa. And they were, their whole program was to take philosophical teachings and try to understand deeper and discuss it. They were somewhat of a debating society, a society that likes to explore deeper philosophical topics. That's an idea. We should do that in our society. Create groups of devotees, just come together around philosophical teachings and just discuss it. Actually, that started in London. There was one very senior devotee. He contacted me and he said, you want to start this little philosophical group? And we started it, and we did it online. And I was dwarfed by some of the intellectuals that were on there. There was Mother Narayani, she was there, Rupa Vilas, and a few other people. And we would take different parts of the Shastras and discuss things. And sometimes when we get stuck, we would get stuck once in a while, we'd always go to Narayani, and she would give the understanding. She's so learned, it's amazing. She has such knowledge of Shastra, and she's just like a walking scripture. And so we were doing that for a while. Somehow after a while it died out. But that's a nice idea. Just create little philosophical groups, maybe 3 or 4 devotees. They come together and just take parts of the scriptures and just discuss it. And you'll see it's actually quite interesting what are some of the things that you reveal in the discussions. Yeah, that's nice. And that's our philosophy. Bodhiantas parasparam katiyantas chamam nityam tusyanti cha ramanti cha. The Bodhis coming together and talking about philosophical and spiritual principles, ideas. So that helps to go deeper into our relationship with Krishna, because we always start seeing the dynamicism of how complete Krishna is in all categories. Just like it says that in all philosophical teachings, there is always some element of bhakti. There's a statement I think somewhere in the Shastras that mentions this. I can't remember. I think it was by Jiva Goswami in his Sandarbhas. Yeah, he was explaining that you'll find bhakti in every philosophy, but sometimes just a grain of bhakti, it's just so small. And then as you go, you'll find some more and more and more and more. And then when you get to real bhakti or pure bhakti, then that's the essence. So yeah, these are just some things. So Shiva, he's been kind of put into an embarrassing situation in one sense. And maybe he'll be known later on as being bewildered. But he doesn't care because he's bewildered by the person who is his worshipful object, Lord Vishnu himself. And so he's feeling proud. Boy, I have such a wonderful master. Not like, oh, what did you do to me? No, he was thinking, boy, I'm so fortunate. I got a master that is so great that, I don't want to go anywhere else. This person is, and I don't even understand how great he is. I thought I knew, and I thought, I could somehow outdance him, but he bewildered me. And I'm not the one to be bewildered. That's Shiva. So now he's feeling proud. So feeling proud of Krishna, or feeling proud of having we also might take it also being proud of our spiritual master, or being proud of some superior who is giving us, guidance in Krishna consciousness. That kind of pride is authorized because it just increases one's bhakti. That's the whole point. It brings about a greater sense of bhakti when we appreciate someone who is great, and that appreciation helps us to understand even more about that person, and maybe we understand more of the greatness and the qualities like that. So when we apply that to Krishna, it becomes unlimited. Then you want to know more about Krishna. Then you want to read more about Krishna. You want to hear more about Krishna. You want to learn just more and more, like why he does what he does and what he does, and so many things. So this is Krishna consciousness. It just kind of inspires one to into the knowledge of greatness. Because when you say great, you don't really say much. Prabhupada would take issue with that. He would say, if you say someone is great, that's nice, but what does it mean? And then you have to describe the qualities that make up that greatness, or the activities that make up that greatness. And then you get an understanding of what is greatness. So when the Mensa Society came to talk to Srila Prabhupada, Prabhupada was saying Krishna is all-powerful, and he can do anything. And he emphasized that point, he can do anything. And you hear many of Prabhupada's lectures when he talks about that, and he would say he can turn night into day and day into night, and you try to figure that one out. And he can bewilder anyone. And then the question came from the Mensa Society. Well, if he's so great, can he create a rock he can't lift? So if you answer any side, you minimize Krishna's power. If you say yes, then you minimize his lifting power. And if you say no, then you minimize his creating power. So trick question, when you meet philosophical people, they know how to try to bewilder you by their word jugglery. The Mayavadis are expert at that. And so Prabhupada, you can't defeat Prabhupada. He's like way ahead of everybody. So Prabhupada said, yes, he can create a rock he can't lift, and then he'll lift it. So yeah, so in that sense, that was the conclusion. That whatever you think he can't do, he can do. But what is the real greatness of Krishna? I mean, there's so many aspects to his greatness that it's just, volumes and volumes and tons of literature describing his greatness. But what is his greatness? That he becomes the servant of his devotees. He takes the humble position, just like I was reading yesterday in Srimad Bhagavatam, when Lord Balaram came to the sages who were performing this yajna, and they had just elected Romaharshan Sutta as being the official Brahmana. He wasn't even a Brahmana, he was from mixed caste. But they empowered him with Brahminical tejas and gave him that position. And so now, feeling very qualified, he was sitting on a very high seat. Balaram walks in. And Balaram, as soon as he walks in, all of the sages, they were all Brahmanas, they immediately rose up with folded hands and they started to greet Balaram with so many sweet words and welcomed him. But Romaharsh Sutta didn't do anything. He simply sat on his seat and didn't make any gesture to Balaram. Balaram noted it, and Balaram immediately became a little bit disturbed and started speaking about that. Who is this person? He's coming from a mixed caste, and so many things that he said. He is like an actor playing a role on a stage. His knowledge is simply, acting. He doesn't have any knowledge, because if he had knowledge, he would honor the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So Balaram became pretty strong. And then he took a piece of kusa grass. I don't know if you've ever seen kusa grass. When I was in India, they showed me what some kusa grass is. It's pretty sharp. It's like a blade almost. And it's big pieces. And he took it and he just touched. It didn't say he threw it or stabbed him or anything. Touched Romaharsh Sutta, and that was it. He was finished. He died right on the spot. And the sages, they said, "Alas, alas, what has been done? What has been done?" They just elected him, and now he's gone. He didn't even say he was leaving. He just left by Balaram's arrangement. And so Balaram and then they started to somewhat find fault with Balaram. Balaram, you broke religious principles. They said that. The Brahmins said that to Balaram. They said, you have acted irreligiously. Basically, that's what they said. That's in the text. And Balaram was listening. He wasn't taking offense at all. And then he said, all right, then should I do some atonement? He's the Supreme Lord. He doesn't make mistakes. And now the Brahmanas are feeling bereft of their leader, at least for the yajna. And so Balaram takes a really humble position and says, well, what can I do to make amends? Should I bring him back to life? No. They're not interested in it. But they immediately found some service for Balaram. The Brahmins thought, well, we have this one demon, and he is Balvala. And he comes occasionally, and in the middle of our yajnas, he throws all kinds of nasty substances all over the yajnas and just defecates and defiles our whole yajna. And we have to throw the whole yajna out and start again. It's all, destroyed. And so we can't perform yajnas because of him. So Balaram, take care of him. Okay, and Balaram says, all right, and then that's the next chapter. I haven't read it yet. So hopefully I'll read that today anyway. But this is, Balaram, the point was took the humble position, and although the Brahmanas found some fault with him, he didn't respond in a negative way or any way. He simply accepted. So we see when the Lord comes, many times he acts as a humble servant of his devotees, just like when Krishna, during the Rajasuya sacrifice, when King Yudhisthira came, and different devotees and personalities had different services. Bhima was the cook, and Arjuna, he had a particular service. Everybody had a particular service for the sacrifice. What was Krishna's service? Krishna had to wash the feet of all of the brahmanas when they came for the yajna. That was Krishna's seva. The Supreme Personality of Godhead is washing the feet of his devotees. So when we speak of greatness, that is hard to understand. Prabhupada always tells that one particular story. It's quite a common pastime. There was one South Indian Brahmana. He was living in the Sri Rangam temple. Have you ever been to Sri Rangam? Yes. Sure, Maharaj has been there. Sri Rangam temple in South India? Yeah. Yeah, Tirupati, yeah. Well, Prabhupada was saying Sri Rangam in his lecture. So. Yeah, Sri Rangam is the place and the temple is, yeah. No? Hmm? Ranganath, yeah. Yeah, Ranganath. Yeah. And that's not Tirupati, that's Balaji, that's Vantekeshwar, that's, yeah. So he was in the Ranganath, Sri Rangam, Ranganath temple. And it was a Brahmana, but he was illiterate. But his guru had given him a service to read every day Srimad Bhagavad Gita. And he couldn't read. He was illiterate. So, and the other Brahmanas, when they would see him trying to read, he would just be turning the pages, They would just kind of laugh and kind of chide him a little. And he after a while, he stopped paying attention to them. And he just kept doing his service. But then Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu happened to be coming just at around that same time when he was there. So Mahaprabhu noticed him, and he was just turning the pages, and he was going, And so he's watching him, and he said, Brahmana, what are you doing? But the Brahmana usually would refuse to listen to anyone, but he could understand this person was not making fun of me. He said, oh, well, actually, my Guru Maharaj, he has given me this service to read every day Srimad Bhagavad Gita, but I'm illiterate. Jai Shri Shri Pancha Tattva Ki Jai. I'm illiterate and I can't read, so I'm just turning the pages. So Mahaprabhu said, but I can see you're showing some emotions. You're actually shedding tears. How is that you can't read? He said, oh, well, and he pointed to a picture of Krishna driving the chariot for Arjuna, and Krishna's taking the position of the chariot driver for his devotee. So seeing that, his heart became melted that, oh, here's the great Supreme Personality of Godhead. He's taking such a menial position just to serve his devotee. And when he felt like that, he started to show emotion. And Mahaprabhu immediately said, you have understood Bhagavad Gita. You have understood Bhagavad Gita. Now this is one of the qualities or the principles of Krishna's greatness, that he becomes the servant of his devotees. Of course, the devotee never wants the Lord to serve, but the Lord always sometimes figures out ways to serve his devotees. He's always doing something. You don't even know it. He's serving his devotees in different ways. We can see just day to day when we carry on our activities how things happen. Sometimes we wonder how things happen, and it's just Krishna's arrangement. He's always there with his devotees. He's reminding us. Prabhupada said he's always telling you what you want to do next. You have some idea what you want to do, and he reminds you through your intelligence, through your mind, like that. So you're thinking, oh, yeah, I just remember what I'm supposed to do. That remembrance is Krishna. The remembrance is Krishna. And that's how close he's connected to his devotees. So here we see how Lord Shiva is. He's so happy and he's very proud of his master. And well, as it goes on, you can see how he glorifies the Lord. Okay, so we'll stop here and see if there's any comments, questions. Okay, thank you. Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Gaur Premanande, Hari Hari Bo.
Some days I'm not having so much, I don't have clients, I don't have then those days I can cook for you.
What is this TEDx tomorrow night or Saturday?
Tonight.
What is it? TV show?
No, I think it's just a local. He just puts that, it's just an ad, but it's all local. Whoever is on Facebook, these fans and admirers of his show, and so he invites different people, and he does like an interview kind of a thing.
It's coming from what country?
Yeah, Slovenia. And what we are going to discuss today, and I really seek your blessings because I want the Mahamantra. I want to somehow or the other bring that in. We're talking about mental and emotional health and its impact on relationships. So
that's your area.
yeah, and it's a mixed audience. He told me that we have a mixed audience. It's not only devotees. So about 600 people have viewed that ad which he put up. I don't know how many people will show up. You know how these things are. You never know.
It's on Zoom.
Yeah, it's on Zoom, but it's also on Facebook Live.
Live? YouTube also?
Not YouTube. No. Only Zoom and Facebook.
Sounds pretty good. What time is it?
8 o'clock. It's very late. 8 to 9.
Okay. Well, you probably get a big audience at that time.
And he's going to translate into Slovenian my answer because many people have asked, can you please translate what she says?
Okay.
So there will be a lot
It'll
of
give
people.
you time to think between translations of what you're going to say.
Please give me your blessing, Guru Maharaj.
That's all right. You can also review some of my seminars online.
You spoke those in Chicago, isn't it? Most recently? You spoke